If your plan administrator sends you a check when you ask to move your 401k, they are required by law to withhold 20% of it for federal taxes before that check ever leaves the building. You then have 60 days to redeposit the full original amount into an IRA, not the 80 cents on the dollar you received, the full original amount. Miss that window by a single day, and the IRS treats the entire balance as a taxable distribution, plus a 10% early withdrawal penalty if you are under 59.5. That is the scenario your advisor was warning you about. It is also a scenario that exists only on one of two paths you can take. The other path does not have any of that. This video is for anyone in roughly the decade before or after retirement who has a 401k sitting at an old employer, or a 401k attached to a job you are about to leave, and an advisor or an in-law or a coworker or a financial newsletter has put a knot in your stomach about taxes if you move it. Whether you are 52 and starting to map this out, 61 and a few months from walking, or 65 and trying to clean up 3 old plans, before Medicare paperwork swallows your calendar, the mechanics we are about to walk through apply the same way. By the end, you will have one specific 4-word phrase to ask for that diffuses the tax issue, and a 3-question filter that tells you whether rolling over at all is actually right for you. Quick honest note before we start. This is general education, not personalized advice. The rules here are real and current as of this recording, but how they collide with your actual income, your actual state, your actual plan documents, and the actual ages of you and your spouse is the conversation to have with a CPA or a fee-only fiduciary planner who has handled rollovers for people in your specific picture, not a general practitioner who is going to look it up while you sit there. Everything below is the briefing that makes that conversation faster, not a substitute for it. Here is the first thing your advisor probably did not walk through cleanly. When you move money out of a 401k, the IRS recognizes 2 completely different transactions, and the tax treatment is not the same. The first one is what most people picture. You ask for your money, the plan sends you a check, you take it to the new institution, you deposit it. That is called an indirect rollover, and it is the one that triggers everything your advisor described. The check arrives short by 20% because federal withholding is mandatory on this path. You have 60 days to deposit the full original amount, which means if you got a check for $80,000 on a $100,000 balance, you have to come up with the missing $20,000 from your savings or a brokerage account to make the rollover whole. If you do not, that $20,000 is treated as a distribution, ordinary income tax, and a 10% penalty if you are under 59.5. Miss the deadline entirely, and the whole $100,000 becomes a distribution. That is the version your advisor described. They were not lying, they just stopped there. The second transaction is called a direct rollover or a trustee-to-trustee transfer, and the difference is not cosmetic. On this path, you never receive the money. You sign paperwork authorizing the old plan to send the funds directly to the new institution. The check, if there even is one, is made payable to the new institution for your benefit, not to you. The IRS, in its own published guidance on both 401k distributions and IRA rollovers, does not treat this as a taxable event. There is no 20% withholding. There is no 60-day clock. There is no "did I deposit it in time" stress. The money moves. That is the entire transaction. Same destination, same balance, no tax event. And here is the part that should land hardest. If you have been telling yourself I am stuck because moving this money is going to cost me thousands in taxes, what is true is that one specific way of moving it would, the other way doesn't. The 4 words to ask for every time are trustee-to-trustee transfer. If the person on the other end of the phone steers you toward, "we'll just cut you a check," you say no, you want a direct rollover, you want the funds sent institution to institution. If they tell you that is not possible, you escalate to someone at the plan administrator who actually has authority over rollover processing, not the first-line rep who is reading from a script. Plans do this every day. It is a checkbox, not a favor. And if any of this is starting to land, comment direct below. I want to know how many of you were given only the check version of this conversation. Now, to be fair to advisors for a moment, because the picture is not pure villainy, there is a real argument made by professionals who write about advisor liability that tax-specific guidance can sit outside the formal scope of work a financial advisor is contracted for, and that some of what feels like an incomplete warning is actually an advisor staying inside the lane their compliance team drew. That is fair. The problem is not always that advisors are hiding the direct rollover option. The problem is often that they describe the worst-case mechanic, you hear taxes and penalties, and the conversation ends before the second path comes up, which is a strong argument for getting your own questions in front of a CPA who is not bound by the same scope rules, but it is not a strong argument for sitting frozen. One more mechanic on the path comparison before we move on, because it shows up later and people get blindsided by it. The IRS limits you to one indirect IRA to IRA rollover every 12 months, not per account, per person, across all your IRAs. Try a second indirect rollover inside that window, and the entire amount of the second one is taxable, plus the 10% penalty if you are under 59.5. Direct trustee-to-trustee transfers do not count against that limit. You can do as many as you need. So even if the tax surprise of the indirect path did not scare you off, the once per year ceiling is a second independent reason. The direct path wins on almost every comparison you can run. So if the tax issue is solvable in 4 words, you might think the answer is obvious. Direct rollover, IRA, done. Here is where I'd push back, because this is the question I think your advisor also skipped, and it matters more than the tax mechanic. Should you actually move the money to an IRA at all? There are genuine reasons the answer is yes. An IRA can hold almost any investment you want, pretty much everything except collectibles and life insurance, while a 401k menu is whatever your plan sponsor decided to offer, which can be excellent or quietly mediocre. Some 401s have low institutional fees that are better than what you would get retail. Others stack record-keeping fees, advisory fees, and fund expenses on top of each other. You have to look. And if you have 3 or 4 old 401ks scattered across former jobs, the required minimum distribution math gets messy fast. Each 401k requires its own RMD calculation, while IRAs can be aggregated for RMD purposes, which is one fewer headache when you turn 73. That 73 figure, by the way, is the current RMD start age under the Secure 2.0 Act of 2022. It used to be 72, and it is scheduled to move to 75 for people born in 1960 or later, starting in 2033. If you miss an RMD, the penalty is 25% of the shortfall, reducible to 10% if you fix it within 2 years. These are real numbers, the kind that move year to year as Congress tinkers, so check the current figure when you actually get to that decision. If you are someone who has 3 old 401ks you have been meaning to consolidate, this is the moment to share this video with the friend or spouse you have been talking to about it, because the next 3 reasons not to roll over are the ones that catch the people who did everything by the book. So here is the harder question this video is actually about. Even if the tax mechanic is solved and the consolidation case is appealing, there are 3 specific situations where rolling that 401k into an IRA is the wrong move, and at least one of them probably applies to someone watching this right now. Let's go through them. The first one is time sensitive and applies to anyone in their late 50s. So if you are between 55 and 59.5, lean in. There is a provision called the Rule of 55. If you separate from your employer, quit, get laid off, retire early, in or after the calendar year you turn 55, you can take penalty-free withdrawals from that employer's 401k. The 10% early withdrawal penalty is waived. Regular income taxes still apply, but the penalty does not. This is one of the few real escape hatches the tax code gives people who retire even slightly early. Here is the trap, and it is the kind that does not come back once it has happened. The Rule of 55 only applies to employer-sponsored plans, specifically a 401k or 403b. It does not apply to IRAs. The moment you roll that 401k into a traditional IRA, the penalty-free access window on those funds closes permanently for those dollars. If you are 57, you separated from your job, and you might need to draw income from this account between now and 59.5. The tax-smart consolidation your advisor casually recommended just turned a 10% penalty back on for every dollar you take out. That is not a hypothetical, that is the rule. A few honest wrinkles on the Rule of 55 because they change who actually gets to use it. It only applies to the plan of the employer you separated from in or after the year you turned 55. It does not apply to older 401ks from prior jobs. Plans are not required to allow partial withdrawals under the rule. Some force a lump sum, which is a separate tax problem, and it does not eliminate income tax, only the penalty. So this needs a fee-only planner who has actually executed Rule of 55 withdrawals before, not someone who has just heard of it, to confirm your specific plan allows it and to map out the withdrawal cadence. If your situation is in this window, the text message version of this is, do not roll the relevant 401k anywhere, until you have a written confirmation from your plan administrator about whether they support Rule of 55 withdrawals and how. If you are not between 55 and 59 and a half, the Rule of 55 probably does not affect you, but the next one might, and it is the one almost no advisor surfaces until the damage is already done. Earlier, we covered the case for rolling to an IRA, broader investment menu, simpler RMDs, possibly lower fees. The Rule of 55 was the first reason that case can flip for one specific sub-audience. Here's the second reason, and this one flips it for high earners. If your income is above the Roth IRA direct contribution limit, and for a meaningful slice of this audience it is, you may be using or planning to use the Backdoor Roth strategy. The mechanic is, you put non-deductible money into a traditional IRA, then you convert that money to Roth. People with high incomes use this to get Roth dollars they cannot contribute to directly. It is widely documented. It is not exotic. The catch is something called the pro-rata rule, and it lives on a tax form called Form 8606. When you convert any traditional IRA money to Roth, the IRS treats the conversion as a proportional blend of pre-tax and after-tax dollars across all your traditional IRA balances combined. Not just the IRA you are converting from, all of them summed. So if you have a small after-tax balance in one IRA and a large pre-tax balance in another, most of what you intended as a clean backdoor conversion comes out taxable. The shield against this, and this is the part advisors almost never lead with, is that 401k balances do not count toward the pro-rata calculation. The pro-rata math looks only at your traditional IRA balances. Your 401k sitting where it is invisible to the formula, which means if you keep your money in a 401k, or if you roll your old 401k into your current employer's 401k instead of into a traditional IRA, the Backdoor Roth strategy stays open. Roll that same money into a traditional IRA, and you have just added a large pre-tax balance to the pro-rata denominator. Going forward, every Backdoor Roth conversion you do is going to come out mostly taxable. For high-income earners, that is not a one-time tax cost. It can be a multi-year strategy that the advisor's simple consolidation move quietly closed. To be precise about what is and is not certain here, there have been legislative proposals over the years to close the Backdoor Roth strategy itself, and none of them have passed into law as of this recording. The threat is real, but speculative. The pro-rata trap, however, is current law, and it is the one to plan around right now. If your income is high enough to need the backdoor, talk to a CPA who has actually filed Form 8606 for clients before, not one who is willing to learn, and have them model what rolling versus not rolling does to your specific pro-rata exposure. The action version of this, if you are or might be a Backdoor Roth user, do not roll the 401k into a traditional IRA without running that Form 8606 math first. That second pitfall is the one that costs the most quietly. The third one is narrower, but for the people it applies to, it matters more than the first two combined. We just walked through how a 401k shields your Backdoor Roth strategy from the pro-rata blender. There is a second thing a 401k shields you from that an IRA, depending on your state, may not: creditor protection. A 401k is governed by federal law that gives it essentially unlimited protection from creditors and lawsuits, both inside and outside of bankruptcy. An IRA gets a federal protection cap inside bankruptcy, a few $1 million, indexed for inflation, but outside of bankruptcy, IRA protection is governed entirely by your state. Some states protect IRAs as strongly as 401ks. Others give you very little. The protection map is not the same as your tax map. For most viewers, this is a paragraph you can skip. It just does not come up. But if you are a business owner who can be sued for what your business does, if you are a physician or other clinician with malpractice exposure, if you are a landlord, if you are in any profession where a lawsuit is a not crazy possibility, the difference between unlimited federal 401k protection and depends what state you live in IRA protection is a real number, and it can be a very large one. Before you move the money, this is a conversation with an asset protection attorney, not a financial advisor, an attorney, about your specific state and your specific exposure. Umbrella liability insurance helps a lot of people in this category, but it is layered protection, not a substitute for the underlying structure of the account. So you have heard three pitfalls: Rule of 55 if you are 55 to 59 and a half, Backdoor Roth pro-rata if your income is high, federal creditor protection if your job is suable. If any of those apply to you, the obvious consolidate everything into an IRA advice is not obvious for your situation. which raises the question, what do you do instead? Here is the third door, and it is the one the source video and most rollover conversations skip entirely. You do not have to choose between leaving your old 401k where it sits and rolling it into an IRA. There is a third option. You can roll your old 401k into your current employer's 401k. Same direct trustee-to-trustee mechanic, no tax event, but the destination is a 401k, not an IRA. And that destination diffuses all three pitfalls in one move. Rule of 55 eligibility stays alive on the current employer's plan, assuming the plan allows it and you separate in or after the year you turn 55. The pro-rata calculation stays empty of those dollars because they are not in a traditional IRA. Federal ERISA level creditor protection stays on, regardless of which state you live in. One move, three problems diffused. The honest trade-offs are real. Your current employer's 401k may have a narrower investment menu than an IRA would. Administrative and record-keeping fees vary across plans, and some are genuinely expensive. You have to look at the disclosure documents. And not every plan accepts incoming rollovers from prior employers. You have to ask HR or the plan administrator specifically. If your current plan is good, this is often the cleanest move for someone with one or more of the three pitfalls in play. If your current plan is mediocre or hostile, it is not. The shifting variable is your specific plan document, so model both paths before you decide. So zoom out. The tax warning your advisor gave you is half true. Just like the title of this video says, the indirect path really does trigger withholding, a 60-day deadline, and a potential penalty, and someone who walks that path without understanding it gets hurt. The other half is that there is a direct path the same advisor probably did not lay out as clearly, and on that path, none of that happens. The harder question, the one that does not solve itself in 4 words, is whether the rollover destination is right for your specific situation. 3 things change the answer. Are you in the Rule of 55 window? Are you using or planning to use the Backdoor Roth? Do you have liability exposure where creditor protection matters? If any of those apply, you have a real decision in front of you about whether to roll, where to roll, and in what order. If none of them apply, a direct rollover from your old 401k to a traditional IRA is probably the cleanest move, and the tax concern your advisor raised is solved by saying trustee-to-trustee transfer out loud. If you are anywhere in that broad 50 to 65 range with a 401k you have been meaning to deal with, the role this video plays for you is the briefing you bring to the actual conversation, not the conversation itself. So this week, do one specific thing, pull up the balance and the plan name of every 401k you currently have, and write down which of those 3 filter questions applies to you. Rule of 55 window, Backdoor Roth, creditor exposure. That single page is what makes the next call. With a CPA, with a fee-only fiduciary planner, with HR, if you are checking whether your current plan accepts incoming rollovers. 15 minutes long instead of 3 meetings. One quick informational note before the next video. If you are someone who wants to run the rollover and conversion math yourself, before you have those professional conversations, I built a Roth conversion and retirement tax planner, a multi-tab spreadsheet linked in the description below that lets you compare side by side what a Roth conversion costs in different years against different brackets, modeling your specific situation rather than a generic example. It is a modeling tool, not advice, not a substitute for a CPA or fee-only fiduciary on irreversible rollover and conversion decisions, which is whose call it ultimately is, and the landing page carries the full description of what it does and does not do, who it is for, and the recommendation to bring the output to a licensed professional before you act on it. Next video, we are going to walk through exactly when a Roth conversion is worth it after you have rolled, the bracket math, the timing windows, and the trap that catches people who convert without modeling Medicare premium surcharges 2 years out. See you in the next one.